addressing this very important topic right now facing humanity is the information. We're at the information age. In fact, our Tao science really shows us that information is the core of everything. And so I will maybe tell a little bit about my journey, and also how, what is Tao science, and then how I came up with these ideas. And I will share with you today's main topic is, about the hard problem of consciousness. To me, the hard problem of consciousness basically is somehow is I need to pinpoint myself. It's basically about okay, here you speaker. So why I cannot pinpoint me? Okay, so everybody's, I think, I'm sure it's good that. Okay, so to the main question about the consciousness is two. One is how our brain, our body can have this consciousness. Another question is how the consciousness affects this physical reality we experience. Yeah, so Tao science have an answer for both of this. So, but today we are more focused on, the talk is more focused on how our consciousness affects. In fact, I will show you our consciousness manifest all the natural laws, including all the natural laws, including all natural forces, like form, fundamental forces, all the elementary particles we discovered. Our consciousness manifests all of them. I'm going to show you this conclusion mathematically, and also the prediction out of this derivation. So before I talk, I will show a little bit of my journey. So I got my PhD, I grew up in China. And since I was like, when I went to the college, I was just very inspired to understand what the metaphysical meaning of consciousness. So I spent almost my whole college years to study this, research this on my own. Of course, I read all the papers and the books, and but I couldn't get an answer. And so when I go after my college, I went to come to US, come to University of California in Berkeley to study physics, got my PhD there. So at that time, I was very, very disappointed, about to understand quantum physics. I couldn't find any answer, and I wasn't satisfied with anybody's answer either. So I kind of just determined to give up on that search and study string theory, and hoping I can just, through the calculation, and come up with some answer, at least to unify all the forces and all the space and time, and also elementary particles. So it's very easy for me to get a PhD, but however, I couldn't come up with the one mathematical formula. So grand unified theory is just trying to use one mathematical formula to describe all forces, all matters, and also space-time. So I couldn't achieve that goal. I didn't even see any hope. I saw, obviously I'm in touch with all the top scientists in this field, in Harvard and in, Princeton, in Berkeley, but I couldn't come up with any answer. I don't see other people's work can fulfill that, vision. And so in a way, actually, I moved to Hawaii, and for a while, I just don't even want to think about physics, and start another, very beautiful life there in Hawaii. And then in Hawaii, I met Dr. and Master Sha, So he is a Tao master, and he's also a spiritual healer, world-renowned spiritual healer. And so he come to my island, Hawaii Island, and my girlfriend, she's a kahuna. She like really persuaded me to go to meet with him, to go to his workshop. So I went to his 1 day workshop, and he was he's a healer, right? And he demonstrated his healing literally like people in pain, people even in cancer, and he's doing this spiritual healing and can get immediate results. Like people was paralyzed and they were able to get up and walk, things like that. So that was very impressed me. And I never met a person like that. I would not believe that if I'm not like right there, look at it. And also, and also he was like devoted to helping others. So that was really like wow, impressed me. I've never met somebody like is devoted to make others, better, to serve others. And another thing is what it was really amazed is his wisdom. He shared about this Tao wisdom, which I grew up with Tao wisdom. So Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching. I read at least part of it, but I couldn't completely understand it. And but he was able to explain it in a very simple way, which actually I can understand. And also, more importantly, he teaches us how to apply it in our life, in our daily life, for healing our lives. Healing our lives means that, okay, I have this problem. Like for me, I have this problem to solve the grand unified theory, but I couldn't, right? So that's a problem. But he actually shows us how to apply this wisdom to solve your life problems. So that was really, fascinating. So actually, by the end of the talk, I was like really determined I'm going to learn from him. And so actually, I was really just devoted, right, and to helping him and for a while, and also study with him. So I studied, going to his workshops. So in one of his workshops, I was sitting there, and at that time I was literally so disappointed with my career with physics. I was my career in physics. I never had the ambition to become a professor, but I really, really want to solve those problems. I was really, and I had my own standard. If I don't solve it, I was not interested in it. So at that time, I couldn't solve physics. I completely don't even want to think about physics. And but I was learning about his spiritual healing, and he teaches how to open up your spiritual channels, and also his Tao wisdoms. So I was like, very fascinated with that. I was learning about it. And so in one of the workshop, I suddenly had this aha moment. I don't know where, at that moment, I never even think about physics, but when that moment, I suddenly got this aha moment. I said, like, wow, now I understand what quantum physics is. And also, I suddenly realized that quantum physics is the way to explain his healing. So he called his healing is a soul healing. He heals your soul. And he said, okay, your soul actually determines every aspect of your life. And so all the physical, all the experience is determined by your health, your relationships, your finances, your marriage, when are you going to die, how much success you're going to have is determined by your soul. But the soul can be changed, soul can be healed. Soul has sickness. So if you heal the soul sickness, and then maybe your life can be prolonged, your sicknesses can be healed, your relationship become better, and you can have more success and happiness. So when I learned from him. I honor him as a teacher. So I did not question it. I just learning about it. But then in that aha moment, I understood from quantum physics point of view, what is soul healing? What is the soul? And also with that insight, I also have a way to understand quantum physics. So that is that insight, that aha moment, lead us to write this book called the Soul, Mind, Body Science System. And after writing this book, we got I got a message to write this book, Tao Science. So after I write the Tao Science, so the way I write this Tao Science book is also through the aha moment. It's not through I'm thinking. Through the soul communication, communicate with soul. So like message, I got a message to write this book, and I just communicate with the Tao here. What is Tao? Tao, Lao Tzu mentioned it, but Lao Tzu basically shared that exists a Tao. The Tao is a universal way. It is a source where everything coming from. So Tao science is about science about the Tao and how everything is created, the Tao. So I wrote this book just through the actually spiritual communication. When I write this book, I just communicate with the Tao, right? Through what I learned from this teacher and through Master Sha. So this book we wrote together. But in fact, this book is mostly written by Master Sha, and this book is mostly written by me. So while writing this book, I just got aha moments that actually when I write in this book, I just received the message, and then when I write in this book, I received the grand unification theory, and so during the COVID, I got a message I needed to really write it up, and because for a long time I have not working on the physics, but during that COVID, I started to really seriously working on it mathematically, and derived the grand unified theory and also holographic quantum theory of consciousness. And recently, I just published a paper on the quantum theory of consciousness, quantum theory of soul, quantum theory of soul sickness and soul healing, and also so we had also in September, end of September 24th and 26th, we have our second international conference of Tao science, Tao technology, and Tao research for mental health. And so last year, we have the first international conference of Tao science. We have more than 700 people worldwide attended online, and also about close to 200 in person. So, okay, so that is a little bit overview. So there's actually a lot of content I would love to share about how we, what the kind of interpretation. So maybe I'll give maybe a quick overview about our interpretation of quantum physics, and then I'm going to do to share about today's topic. Yeah, but I'll be happy to share. If you're interested, I'll be happy to share more, and also definitely invite you to come to our conference, because mental health is one of the biggest issue I consider is maybe the most urgent crisis right now facing humanity. So Tao science is not just a science, it also have application. Actually, I'm also a healer. I use Tao science wisdom actually, heal people of cancer, at least helping them, they literally through my consultation, get out of the bed, be healed, have very successful life, save people's marriages, like everything. So this part actually I really enjoy doing, but I'm also doing the research. So a lot of actually physics research I'm also doing, very exciting. So, okay, so I'll share with you how we, Tao science give understanding about Tao wisdom. About quantum physics. So according to Tao science, so the Tao wisdom, right? Tao, Tao wisdom is one of the China's most ancient wisdom. It's have at least we know it's more than 5,000 years of wisdom, but I think it's much longer than that. So one of the Tao wisdom is that, of course, when it exists, Tao. So what is Tao? Actually, now I can use quantum physics to explain all the wisdoms. We have Tao science can explain all the Tao wisdom scientifically. So, and also Tao wisdom give me the insight to understand quantum physics. So one of the Tao wisdom is that everything is made of three things. One is Shen. Shen, and one is Qi, right? Qi, many of you have heard of it. Qi is energy. And Jing. Jing is the matter. So matter is everything we hear, we see, we observe, and we touch. So matter is everything in this physical life. And the Qi, the energy, the Qi Gong, the energy. And the Shen, so what is Shen? Shen, in the Chinese word of Shen literally means magical, like a god. The god is magical, so God is actually called Shen. But then the Tao wisdom said everybody has this Shen, God-like qualities. And the Shen actually determines the energy and the Jing. But what is Shen in physics? So what I see is the Shen is basically information. So this is what's Tao science wisdom. Shen is basically wisdom. Shen is basically information. So this is insight of Tao wisdom and give me insight about what quantum physics is. So quantum physics in everything is a vibrational field. So it's a vibrational field which is described by wave function, right? And the wave function basically describes what kind of vibrations inside something. What kind of vibrations inside you, and so basically summation of all the vibrations that is inside you. You could maybe so maybe make it N. And this just really sees like, so what kind of vibration, right? So you look at this. So over here, the vibration is basically something physically you can observe, right? And then the vibration carries energy. So energy, it is find out is related to, these two elements, right? Related to the waves and the frequency and also wavelengths. And then the wave function also have this, the probability. So probability is basically the information, right? Probability information. So this is basically what Tao wisdom is saying. Everything is made of three elements. Jing is a matter, something we can observe, right? The wavelengths and frequency we can measure, but also energy, right? Energy and then information. So what the quantum physics really tells us, the way to understand quantum physics is basically is to realize everything is made of vibrations carrying these three elements. And the information determines these two, information determines the energy and determines the matter, right? Information like this probability and also information, what kind of probability, what kind of state, and really determines how much energy and what kind of possibility that is also in a system. And then the quantum physics is really about the measurement, right? So any system like you and me, just made of with vibrational field, has many possibilities, made of all kinds of vibrations. So why we're experiencing a life we're experiencing, and so we have a way to understand the measurement problem. So measurement problem is basically is that we need a detector. So the measurement is like, for me to observe you, I need my eyes or, hear something. And so I need a detector to receive some of these vibrations. So what kind of detector I use, right, and turn on to receive this quantum vibration determines what kind of phenomena I'm going to observe. So that is why quantum measurement determines what you're going to observe, but it also depends on the observer. Okay, and so this is how we explain the quantum physics. Give a new, and then with the quantum physics, this understanding, I can study what is consciousness and also what is the soul. So what is the soul? So the information contains three aspects. Okay, information contains three aspects. Information contains three aspects. So one is the content of information. One is receiver of the information. One is processor of information. Right? And then, so we find that the content of information, so in Dao science, we propose the content of information is the soul. Receiver information is what we call spiritual heart. And the process of information is the mind. And then with this definition, and we can explain all the spiritual wisdoms and also come up with technology to heal the soul and also utilize to and also explain what is the mind and consciousness. And so this is a framework we're using to study. Yeah. So I just want to touch base on this. And but today this is, and also from this we will know how the matter can have how we can have experience, right? This physical body, the brain, and also the whole physical body, how can have a consciousness, and also how our soul and heart and mind determines this matter, which is also all our physical experience. So this answers, one part of the question about what is consciousness. So today I'm going to share with you how our consciousness determines, in fact, manifest all the natural laws and also all the natural laws and all our observed phenomena. Yeah, so basically, from what I have just shared, the soul gives the information, and the spiritual heart basically receiver of the information, and then receive the information, and then mind process the information, and then directs the energy, and the energy moves the matter, and the matter is what we experience, right? And so this is the manifestation process. So today I want to ask a question. How does, so from here you can see the consciousness is really manifest. Consciousness is, I would say, made of all these elements together, right? It's really manifested what we're experiencing in the world. So everything in the whole universe is manifested by our consciousness. This is, in fact, is what Buddha's teaching as well. So he teaches us. So I'm going to today study mathematically how that happens, right? So how can we study our consciousness? So by the way, so in Tao science, we study the three laws coming from the Tao wisdom. So one is the law of Shenqi Jing, I just shared with you, right? And which give us the new interpretation about quantum physics, and for us to understand what is a soul, what is a consciousness, how everything works, right? And also make us can use quantum physics to study the soul, spiritual phenomena, and also the consciousness. And so another law of in Tao is called the law of yin yang. Law of yin yang. Law of yin yang basically says everything is made of two elements, yin and yang. Yin and yang. And these two elements, yin and yang, they are opposite. So they're opposite. And they are also relative. So just think about everything has, if you think about high, tall, there's a low, right? And right or wrong, front or back. So everything has, if we have, there's two elements, and right and wrong, good and bad. There's two elements, but they're relative. Good can be bad, bad can be good, right? And front and back, all relative. And also they are co-created. They are they're codependent. They're inseparable. So and also the interaction of the yin and yang creates everything. So this is the law of Tao. We call the Tao yin yang creation. So we study, to study the consciousness. So we will just think about what our consciousness is made of.
So, Dr. Rulin, I'm very sorry to interrupt, but is there any way you could bring your whiteboard a little closer to the camera? I cannot see it.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So maybe the green is not so good, huh?
It isn't very clear, no.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll try to use maybe
the blue one or black one will give best contrast in this settings.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So yin and yang. So, yeah. This. Today, a lot of things come up. Maybe red is maybe better. Yeah. Red. Yin. It's also not very good, huh?
No.
But anyway, so yin and yang, I was trying to show off some of my calligraphies. And also, we actually use calligraphy to help people, to heal people. The calligraphy. So yin and yang, yeah, so you got the question, what is the yin and yang, right? And so now we talk about the consciousness. So what is consciousness, right? So what is, so I'm propose that by studying the structure of the consciousness, our consciousness manifested everything. So I'm studying in this paper, I just published, how by studying the consciousness, I can come with one mathematical formula to describe everything. I study the structure of our consciousness, and I can understand this world we manifest, we observe, which is basically manifested by our own consciousness. So what is the structure of our consciousness? The law of yin-yang basically tells us our consciousness, our human consciousness is basically yin and yang, right? So we are we conscious something, we think it's, conscious of this, but also our consciousness, a basic structure of consciousness yin and yang. We conscious something tall, and then we definitely, notice we're comparing it with something is low, right? So this opposite elements is always together. So that is one of the basic structure of our consciousness, right? Is the yin and yang elements. So our consciousness will contains at least two elements, right? So I'll call this two elements, and then. So that's one of the basic structure is this duality, right? So in the West, it's called duality. In the Tao wisdom, it's a yin and yang. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so now I just need to know how many this duality pairs that's made of my consciousness. So the basic elementary elements, right, that make up my consciousness. Like physicists were trying to find the elementary particles that are made of all the matters, right? And so what is the basic elements that are made of the all consciousness of humanity? So I proposed in my paper, humanity's consciousness is all made of two duality yin-yang pairs. So first yin-yang pair is to the consciousness. This is humanity consciousness, and it could be there's some other lives they have, their maybe more advanced consciousness. We don't, this moment, I cannot think about it yet. But so the humanity consciousness I propose is made of two yin-yang pairs. So one is you notice if something is moving or not moving. So this is one of the basic consciousness. Yin-yang pair, opposite, but relative, right? And inseparable and co-created. So, and also notice this moving is actually related to our consciousness we normally say about time. You just look at, the measuring time is always use something, the movement, right? The watch movement, sandal, right? And movement. And the movement of the year, right? The movement of Earth is a year, and movement of the moons make the months, right? So time is related to our consciousness, something is moving. And not moving is space, our consciousness of space. So I can recognize this table or this board because it's not moving. And I can measure its length because it's not changing, unchange, or this can also moving or change and unchange. So this is one of the basic human consciousness. It's related to our consciousness about space and time. So I will make, this as the tau consciousness of time changing as tau. At this moment, it's like I, and then this space as sigma, this, right? So, and also combination of these two is made of my consciousness. So you end them up. So your consciousness is equals to, it's nice. So the consciousness made of is equals to end up all your consciousness about space and time, about the moving or not moving. So this is the first pair. But then there's another basic elemental human consciousness I propose is we are conscious of something, or this belongs to me or not belong to me, or I want this, or I'm attached to it, or I'm detached from it. Yeah, so this is another human elementary consciousness. So number one, number two is, maybe attached or belong or detach. So this is another elementary pair that's made up of consciousness. And so this elementary pair, which in physics, how can I mathematically describe this pair, right? This is mathematically in physics, you can be described by the in physics there's two kind of particle. One is a bosonic particle, which can stay together, and then there's another fermionic particle. They refuse to stay together. So we can so attach is this fermionic, which is this is already the normal character we know, right? And then the detached is refuse to be together. You need to use a fermionic, which is fermionic representations. So I claim the human consciousness, at least I propose, right? I'm not claiming, obviously, I cannot claim this. I propose that all the human consciousness is made of these two duality pairs, the yin-yang pairs. One is changing or moving, not changing or moving, or attached or detached, or belong, not belong, right? And then, so my whole so this two, all the other consciousness is a combination of this two basic elementary consciousness. So I can write all the human consciousness as summation of these four elements. So, and they need to combine together. So they are the yin yang. So you can see this is also yin yang. So all the consciousness can be described by this formula. So maybe I'll so all the consciousness. So all consciousness. That's not work. Sorry about this. I prepared better. Okay. So all the consciousness can be described by the summation of each moment. What's your consciousness aware of? this formula just describes all the possible consciousness. So I propose all the consciousness is made of two basic, duality pair consciousness, and then all the consciousness can be described by the summation of these two consciousness. Yeah. So I derived one mathematical formula that describes all consciousness. So which is very interesting. So this formula I derived is basically the superstring. I study this. I got a PhD for this superstring. So this is basically the mathematical formula of a superstring, which is now the best candidate for the grand unified theory, but it cannot fulfill that goal. So that is why we published a paper on we derived the unified theory using the holographic principle, and which we can derive this formula, but it has a different meaning. Like from here, this formula is very similar to superstring, but it has a completely different meaning. And with our holographic principle, we derive this also the similar formula, but it has different meaning. It has similar mathematical formulation as a superstring. And then, so in our talk, and maybe you can think about this. Let me write a test. I'm supposed to lead a meditation now, but obviously I cannot. I'll just tell them I cannot. So I do daily lead people to do meditation also. You're welcome to join. I cannot lead the meditation. Somebody please do it for me. Okay, thank you. Okay. So yeah, so we basically have derive this superstring similar to superstring mathematical formula, and which describes all consciousness. And so in my another paper, I really show that this is the mathematical formula that can give rise to all the elementary particles, all the fundamental forces, and dark matter, dark energy, and also large structure of the universe, everything. In fact, with this mathematical formula, you can study what is inside a black hole, and very fascinating. So I'm writing more paper on this, using this formula to explain the world. A recent paper right now I'm working on is this formula can really show me why we live in a world dominated by matter, not antimatter. Why we don't observe antimatter. Yeah, so actually this can give very beautiful explanation. So we don't have time for that. So basically I just want now we see how to derive, a mathematical formula to describe all the consciousness, right? And then I literally in my other work, I can show all the observed natural laws, the gravity, the all the forces, and all the quantum physics, including general relativity, everything is coming out of this, including thermodynamics, everything. But this formula can even tell us much more than what string theories tell us. And so what can it tell us? So for one thing, is that, because everything is coming from our consciousness, and so if I can use one mathematical formula to describe all my consciousness, then obviously I can use one mathematical formula to describe everything in the world, right? And which I literally demonstrate that. So it's at least self-consistent, right? And another thing is that, so one of the derivation of this is that why time is one-dimensional. Yeah. So here, because our consciousness is kind of one-dimensional, you cannot say even I say I'm stop thinking, right? Or I'm stop, like you cannot stop your consciousness, right? It's just one direction. You have more and more consciousness. So, but then the time is in this time is the time is related to the consciousness. So that is why time can be one-dimensional. So that's what at least what I think it's the case. Yeah. So you can have objection to that. And also what the other so the one dimension why conscious time is one-dimensional, and it's also related to the information in the system. Yeah. And another yeah, so I'll send you, we can maybe just another thing possibility another conclusion from this is that so for me to study the Tao, one of the things about Tao as wisdom, and also some people practice this as religion or spiritual practice. So over the Chinese history, there's many recorded cases like people practice this. They transcend space and time, meaning that they think of something, they can make it happen. They can change the stone into gold. They can change their body positions. Or they can become immortal, like they don't have to die. They can change their bodies any form into just and they can fly. It seems like violates the natural law, right? We currently understand. But from this theory, we can understand. So what I'm talking about, this common human consciousness, is based on the duality, which is manifest all the natural laws. But imagine if you do not have this kind of consciousness, this kind of duality consciousness, you can go beyond this duality consciousness, then the reality you're going to experience can be completely different. You do not have to be controlled by the natural law we normally consider is so universal. So this theory can also shows us that we can transcend the natural laws. We can transcend gravity, just like in the Chinese history, there are people, they just fly away, and there's they can do all kinds of amazing feats, yeah, and feat. So this derivation also shows us we can transcend the natural laws, because natural law is all coming from our duality thinking. But if our consciousness, we can transcend, we don't base on consciousness, based on the judgment and attachment or detachment, then we can go into more, higher consciousness, not based on the duality. Then you can actually maybe can transcend the natural laws. Yeah. So that is another derivation, prediction from this consciousness, from this implication, at least say, okay, I'm not sure. And another implication I thought is very fascinating is that, so one of the mystery is in science is that it seems like all the natural laws we observe, right, of natural phenomena is we can describe so beautifully with mathematics, right? So why, like such a coincidence exists? Why has this such a mystery? But this theory can really shows us why, right? Because everything is coming from our consciousness. right? Everything, you know, we observe, we experience in nature is coming from manifested by our consciousness. And then, but our conscious and mathematics, what is mathematics? Mathematics is basically, it's basically about how our brain, our consciousness think, right? It's just basically a language that describes how our mind works, how mind, and language describes our mind, our consciousness. So, and then everything is coming from our consciousness. So of course, everything can be described. All the natural phenomena can be described by mathematics. Yeah. So, okay. So I'll conclude my my talk now. And do you have any questions? And